of the University of Tokyo. I was very much impressed by the text he mentioned, Periplus Maris Erythraei. He used the book Eryļu tūrā海案内記, written in Japanese and published in 1945, just the year of the end of the World War II. Murakawa was a professor of the Department of the History of the West at the University of Tokyo. He collected all the important documents in the world and gave detailed explanation of the Periplus Maris Erythraei. The book was reprinted in 1993. Now I'm glad that I begin my talk today with the text of Periplus Maris Erythraei. As Murakawa says, this is a book on the sea route, comparable to the Silk Road on the land, passing through the Central Asia. So we have two Silk Roads, one is on the sea and one is on the road. This is the cover of my book, reprint book, and this is the map. The Periplus Maris Erythraei, which I use today, is edited and translated in English by Lionel Casson in 1989. This was based on a single manuscript kept in Heidelberg, Germany. Only 67 small chapters are preserved. Date of the text is that of Manicus II, the king of the Nabateans, who ruled from 40 to 70 CE. The name of the author of the text is unknown, but he is an Egyptian Greek merchant. The title Periplus Maris Erythraei is Latin. The meaning of Periplus is sailing around, and Maris Erythraei is Red Sea. But this is Red Sea is used in wider sense, wider than Red Sea proper, but more wider. It's about Indian Ocean. Now I quote from Lionel Casson's introduction. In the course of these centuries, the Arabs and the Indians unquestionably learned to exploit the monsoons, those seasonal winds that in the Western Indian Ocean, Gulf of Aden, and Arabian Sea blow from the southwest during the summer, and here from southwest during summer, and from northwest during the winter, thereby ensuring a favorable voyage both ways. Then came the moment when Greek seamen no longer stopped short at Edaimon, Arabia. Edaimon, Arabia is here, but continued all the way to India. When, in other words, they learned to exploit the monsoons. Periplus attributes the discovery of a certain captain or pilot named Hipparchus. Hipparchus is the name of a captain of a ship, without mentioning his name. So here is a southwest windows blowing here to India, and another one is from here to here. And on the way back from India to Mediterranean world. So I quote from the extract of this Lionel Casson's translation. I quote last several chapters, not to be the beginning, but only the last ones, which is very close to my studying area, India. So 57, section 57, the whole coastal route just described from Kane is here, Kane and Eudaimon, Arabia, men formerly used to sail over in small vessels, following the curves of the bays. So before they find monsoon, they just sipped around the curves of the Arabian Peninsula and this way. The ship captain Hipparchus, by plotting the location of the ports of trade and the configuration of the sea, was the first to discover the route over open water. In this locality, the wind we call Etesian. Etesian's wind from southwest to northeast. Etesian blow seasonally from the direction of the ocean. And so southwesterly makes southwest here makes its appearance in the Indian Sea, but it is called after the name of the one who first discovered, that is Hipparchus, the way across. Because of this, right up to the present, some live directly from Kane, and some from promontory of size. Promontory is here, either Kane or promontory of spices. And whoever are bound for Limerick is India, Limerick hold out with the wind on the quota for most of the way. So some are very good, but some are not directly following the wind. And but anyway, that whoever are bound to Barigaza is here, Barbaricon, no, Barigaza is here, and whoever Bargadia, and whoever holds Scythia is to the north here, Scythia. Only 3 days and no more going around the sea, and very quickly arrived there. So this is 57 and 58, 56, 58. After Bakare comes Dead Mountain, as it is called, and another region extends, called the seaboard, directly to the south. The first stopping place, called Barita, is a village on the coast with a good harbor. This is also in the mainland India. After this comes another stopping place called Komar. Now, 58, Komar is Kanyakumari. This is in Indian top of Indian Peninsula, where there is a little settlement in the port. What is something is here? Mainland India, southern tip. And now 59, this is also in South India. Pandya is Pandya, and culture is in the Chola kingdom. And this is also in South India. But in section 60, also this is also South India. And so please read it later by yourself. And from section 61, we come to Sri Lanka. Paraisindu is the name in Sri Lanka. But Tabor Bane is also in Sri Lanka. And I have skipped 2 more sections, and now in 2064, there is a very interesting word. There is a very great city called Tina. Tina. This is actually China. So, from which silk comes from China. So already in that time of Periplus, China was known as the product of silk. And and clothes are shipped by land by bacteria to Varughaza. Varughaza is northern India. And by Ganges river back to Rimulke. It is not easy to get this Tina. So China was difficult to get. But this part, the author has not gone to China. No, he didn't cross the Cape Comorin to the east coast of India. After this part, it is not very accurate. Full of what he only heard, not he actually visited. So the last section is section 66. What beyond this area, because of extremes of storm, bitter cold, and difficult terrain, also because of some divine power of gods, has not been expressed. Of course, the author didn't go further away, but anyway, he mentions about the northern part of India, like the Himalaya. This is a place is probably bitter cold and difficult to train, and also because of divine powers had not been explored. So unexplored land, that was Himalaya. This is the last part of Periplus. So I will move to another topic, the Yamanaja. Among the commodities brought to India by the Sea Silk Road, there was a Greek text on astrology. So this is important. Among the commodities brought to India by Silk Road, Sea Silk Road, that Greek text of astrology was transmitted. The original text was called Yavana Jataka, written by a certain Yavaneshvara, or the king of Greece, in about AD 149 to 50 in Alexandria. And it was versified by Spujidvaja in India in AD 269 to 270, according to Pingree. But the date is not so definite as the recent paper by Mirmak has demonstrated. I'll show you this part by PowerPoint file later. Anyway, Mirmak has demonstrated that that data is not so accurate. So it's better we say that it's about 300 AD. When I went to Brown University in 1973 to 4, I learned much about the text which Professor David Pingree was preparing. The work, Yavana Jataka of Spujidvaja, Ruhbaja, was first published in 1978 as the Harvard Oriental Series, Volume 48. The first volume is the Devanagari edition of the text, and the second volume is translation and commentary. Especially important is the commentary written where Pingree gave most detailed account of the total 79 chapters, to which he added bibliographical information on the astrological authorities cited in the commentary. There is another work in Sanskrit called the Briddha Yavana Jataka of Meenaraja, who is closely related with the Yavana Jataka of Spujidubda. Briddha Yavana Jataka's Briddha means sometimes old and sometimes enlarged, but in this case, I think enlarged is better translated. Enlarged Yavana Jataka. The date of this book would be a little later than Yavana Jataka. Pingree was first interested in this book, and while editing this book, he found the manuscript of Yavana Jataka. So Pingree's work was first in Briddha Yavana Jataka and then switched to Yavana Jataka. The text of Briddha Yavana Jataka was also published by Pingree in 1976. The contents of the book is listed in Pingree Yavana Jataka second volume. The chapter 58 to 62 of Briddha Yavana Jataka is called separately Stri Jataka. This is women's horoscope. This is very interesting. And like an independent work, Stri Jataka. And sometimes it is utilized independently. Now I speak briefly about the contents of the Yavana Jataka. In the Yavana Jataka, almost all the important elements of the Greek or Hellenistic astrology are contained. They include 12 zodiacal signs, 12 places. Places is a verb, in Sanskrit, bhavas. 7 planets, grahas, their aspects, drishti, etc. The subdivision of the sign and their meanings are also of Greek origin. One half of a sign is a hora, that is 15 degrees. 1/3 is dreshkana or decan, 10 degrees. 1/12, 30 over 12 is 2.5, 2.5 degrees. And 1/30th of 30 is 1 degree. Now, there's one exception. The one exception is that which is called Nava Ansha. Nava is 9. Ansha is part. So this means 1/9 of a sign. This presupposes the 27 nakshatra system of Indian origin. 1 Nava Ansha equals 1/9 of sign. That is for 9/4 nakshatra. This means 9 1/4. 1/4 is in Sanskrit pada. And this was translated in Chinese as put, ash, put. The importance of the moon was presupposed before the introduction of the Greek astrology. There are many examples of Indianization of Greek astrology. Especially important is the role of the moon. The place of the moon at birth is sometimes more important than that of the ascendant or the sun. This is a very traditional concept of the importance of the moon. Now, the nakshatra system is rarely used. The nakshatra is also typical of Indian origin, but this is not very well used in Yavana Jataka. It is only in chapter 73, which discusses military expedition, yatra, and that which we find the names of nakshatras. Names of nakshatras are found only in chapter 73 in the military expedition. This topic is also old. Here 28, not 27, but 28 nakshatras, including Abhijit, are used. 28 nakshatra system, Abhijit is used. They begin with Kritika, as in the case in the old system. The old system begins the nakshatra with Kritika, and the new classical time nakshatra begins with Ashvini. Now, the concept of weekday is evident by the expression Guror Dina. Guror means of Jupiter. Dina is day. Day of Jupiter for Thursday. Or Shukrasya Dina. Shukra is Venus, and Shukrasya Dina is day of Venus. This means Friday. This is found in chapter 75. But the order of weekday is not yet here, we find. The order is not yet that was weekday. It is only in chapter 77 that the order of 7-day week, beginning with Sunday, is attested. So I will switch to my PowerPoint file. You see this PowerPoint file. So here I have already explained Erythraei Kai and make it larger. So this is the front cover of Pingrich Yavana Jataka, and this is about the new manuscripts which I found in Nepal. This is actually, first it was Brida Yavana Jataka. Brida is like Brihat, Brihat, not Brida, but Brihat Yavana Jataka. It was written before, but after I visited there, someone have changed the title of the library card. And this is what they are recorded now. And then this is the last folio of the manuscript which I discovered. And here is something like dating, but actually this is not the late dating. This is from Bill Mack's paper, and he just marked this is not so-called Bhut Sankhya number numerals, but another word. So this cannot be interpreted as a number of years. So this is very important discovery. And another one is Brida Yavana Jataka. So I have spoken about Yavana Jataka, and the contents of Yavana Jataka is okay. Then I move to Silk Road on land. Please check the text I sent. Silk Road on land. Now, Buddhism was the main vehicle that conveyed Indian science to the neighboring cultural areas. In the earlier time, Buddhist text Shardura Karna Abadana, where Indian lunar astrology was taught, was translated into Chinese 2 times. One is modern Jin, MDJ by Juan and G. Can. The date of this text is towards the end of the 3rd century AD. Second translation is abbreviation STEJ, Shutejan Tai Zi Elusia Shuja, by Jiuhahu, belonging to the beginning of the 4th century. The Sanskrit text of Shardura Karnavana Abadana, available to us today, seems to be somewhat later than Chinese translations. In these texts, no element of Western astrology is found, except that the 19-year cycle, so-called Methodic cycle of intercalation, was mentioned in MDJ. But this part can be a later interpolation. The text conveys a beautiful love story of Chandara, outcast girl who is attracted by Ananda, a disciple of Buddha. In the story of their former life, the outcast king Trishanku wants to marry his son Shardurakarna, who is the daughter of Skarasarin, a Brahmin. Trishanku had a very advanced knowledge of astrology, which was monopolized by the Brahmin caste. Now, in the following, if time allows, I will speak about those texts which are closely related to Central Asia. I have used several texts here, so if we have enough time, I will go through all of them. But anyway, first I speak about Daijikyo, yes, here. The earliest Chinese Buddhist text that contains translation of the names of the 12 zodiacal signs is the Dafan Den Daijin, or in short, Dajijin, DJ, which is an encyclopedic collection full of rich information on Indian Buddhist text, Indian Buddhist culture. The title of the original text might be Mahasannipata Sutra, probably of Central Asian origin. The text is number 397 of Taisho Turditaka, which is a compilation by Senju, and it consists of two main parts. The first part was composed by Dharmakshema Dommuski, and the other was Narendra Yasa. This is a phonetic translation of Narendra Yasa, between 566 and 85. In this text, the Sanskrit names of zodiacal signs are translated into Chinese both literally and phonetically. Literal translation is from solar part, which is older, and the phonetic translation is from the lunar part. So here is the interesting. I add in chapter 42 of this Dajijin, we found the name Garga in Chinese translation, a phonetic translation of Garga. Garga was a traditional Indian sage and said to be the author of the text Gargiya Jyotisha. This book is now being studied by Bill Mack. Gargiya Jyotisha is quoted in several data texts. He belonged to the time before Yavanada, probably before Yavanada. So this translation, literal translation, and phonetic translation must be interesting. So first I go through literal translation. Mesha is lamb, and the God holding a lamb. Brisha and Taurus, the God holding ox. And the strange thing is Mitna. Mitna is here, phonetic translation of Mitna, okay, but God holding two, God of two births. This is very strange. As I wrote, this is a kind of euphemism in order to avoid sexual connotation of the Sanskrit word. I will speak of this later. And Karkataka is cancer. Karkataka, phonetic Karkataka. And the Kani, cancer. Simha is Leo. Simha is phonetic, and Shishi is also phonetic translation of Simha. But anyway, and this is the literal translation. And Kanya Virgo is here, phonetic, and Tenyo, divine girl, Tenyo, divine girl. And Tura is Libra. Tura is phonetic, and this is, yes, Libra. So this translation, two translations in the same text are very interesting. Now, I want to speak about Shuyajin. It was in the Tang Dynasty that frequent cultural exchanges were made between China, Central Asia, and India through Buddhism. The city of Chang'an, modern Xi'an, flourished as the international capital that was flooded with foreign envoys, missionaries, refugees, and travelers. The Shuyajin, XYJ in abbreviation, is a text on Indian astrology composed in the middle of the 8th century by the Buddhist monk Amoghavajra. His Chinese name is Pukun Jinhuagan, Pukun Kongo, Pukun Jingan, or simply Pukun. He is of Sogdian origin, again Central Asian origin. The full title of this text can be rendered as Sutras on auspicious and inauspicious times, and good and bad nakshatras and luminaries, preached by the Bodhisattva Manjushri and several sages. First of all, Amoghavajra orally handed down his knowledge of Indian astrology to his Buddhist disciple Siya. Amoghavajra went to Sri Lanka, South India, and after he came back, he communicated his knowledge of Indian astrology to his Buddhist disciple Siya. Siya finished his work in 759, but Siya's translation was not very natural, and the teacher's communication itself was not very well arranged. Fearing that this translation is not good enough to attract Chinese leaders. Amogajir Bajra ordered its revision to his secular disciple Yang Jinfen. Yang was a very good scholar of astronomy, and he prepared the second version in 1764. He even added a new chapter entitled the chapter on weekday computation. So both versions, Xiao's and Yan's version, were printed as number 1299 of the Taisho Tripitaka. But there remain several old manuscripts in Japan that offer far better reading. This is one of the on the screen. This is a manuscript kept in Koyasan. Very old manuscript. I would call the Tripitaka version underwent several processes of Sinicization. The Tripitaka version, I call this continental version, went several processes of Sinicization, and the result is much different from the older versions in Japan. This Japanese version is very true to the original. The good example is the change of 28 nakshatras system instead of 27 nakshatra system of the original version. In Indian original text, 28/7 nakshatra was used, but in Tripitaka version or continental version, it was changed to 28, that is Sinicized. In Sia's first translation of this text, there is an interesting passage where weekday names are given. The importance of this part was known by the Western scholars and Chaban and Perio. I did the translation by Birmak. In general, the seven luminaries, in other words, sun, the moon, and the five stars, exert their influences over human beings. Each of them takes a turn each day, repeating in 7 days. We use this method because the respective seven luminaries exert positive and negative influences over things. One should be careful when one uses this method. However, if one does not recall right away the day of the week, one may ask the Central Asians, the Persians, or people from 5 Indias, who should all know. The Nigantas, that is Jains, and the Manichaeans perform ablutions on the day of meal, that is Sunday. The Persians also too make this an important day, maintaining such practices without forgetting them. Thus, the contemporary appellations of seven luminaries of the peoples from various countries are given as below. So this gives this list. So in Chinese, Bi, Ye, Wo, Sui, Mu, Jin, Tu. And as a planet, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. But he gives 3 different languages. First is Central Asian, that is Sogdian. Meal. This was, I will call Mach. And Friday is Unkan, and Wednesday is Tir, and Thursday is, this is Aframazda, Ormuzd, and Friday is Naked. This is from Anahid, that is Venus, and Saturday is K1. Now, the Persian name is interesting. This is numerals. First day, Sunday, is Ev, 1, and second day is Do, 2, and Se is 3rd, Chahar is 4. Even now in modern Hindi, this is very close. And Pancha, 5. 5th day is Wednesday, and 6th day is Shas. 7th day is Hat. This is in Sanskrit Sapta. And the Indian names, all Indian names are names of God. Aditya, Soma, Angaraka, Buddha, Brihaspati, Shukra, Shanaishchara, all are very good translation of Sanskrit, not Pali, but Sanskrit, as a Sanskrit translation, it's very good. This is copied from my book, translated by Bill Mack. To be noted here are Gemini, Mithuna. No. Here, Mithuna, and Sagittarius. Sagittarius, dumping this. Gemini is, in Greek astrology, were twin boys, Castor and the Pollux. Castor on the right, this is Gemini. Castor is on the right. Pollux is on the left. And they have things to carry. Castor carries this Bina, that is a musical instrument. And Pollux have club. This is a lute, and this is club. The male twin, this Greek male twin, was changed to a couple of a boy and girl in Egypt. And this interpretation was transmitted to India and became Mithuna. A man and his wife with some sexual connotation. I have put in footnote 11, the sculpture of Mithuna in the Khajuraho temple are well known. I have put it here. Yes, this is a Mithuna image in Khajuraho. There are many other very interesting Mithuna sculptures. And this is the footnote 11. This figure 2 is a picture from Jantar Mantar Observatory in India. This is interesting. This figure is inside out. So usually the man who has a musical instrument is on the right, but the lady has musical instrument is on the left. So inside out is because this is drawn on the celestial globe, and the image was inside out. This was the reason of the strange translation, a god of two birds, as I said, in the Dajijin, as we have seen above. It was translated as man and woman by Xiao in the first translation of XYJ. The same word was translated as in sexual relation in the second translation by Yang. Because the word stands for husband and wife. In Japanese horoscopes and star mandalas, it is sometimes called husband and wife. In this translation, Sagittarius is only bow, without the upper human body having a bow and the lower horse body. Sagittarius of Kentaro's family must have been difficult to imagine for Indians. In Sanskrit texts, both bow, dhanus, and bowman, dhanbin, is used. These interpretations were transmitted to Japan, and a bow without person holding it is depicted in star mandalas. Here I have spotted this star mandala is in Karaji, and Ganesh Gambin is okay. Now I speak about the Wu Tian Wu Ro Ju Yao. A text entitled Wu Tian Wu Ro Ju Yao is ascribed to Yi Xin, who was not only a distinguished figure as a tantric Buddhist teacher, but also one of the best known mathematical astronomers in China. The text describes the years after birth, which are governed by the 9 grahas, planets. The title of the book is rendered in English as Indian Deities, Horrors, and 9 grahas. It is interesting to note that the Sanskrit word hora, which is a phonetic translation of the Greek word, was also phonetically translated into Chinese as huro. The Greek word is nothing but the etymon of the English word hour, and also stands for half a zodiacal sign as a unit of space. In Sanskrit, the word assumed a wider meaning, standing for a genre called Hora Shastra, that is science of horoscope. There is a beautiful painting called Karazu, in Toji Temple in Kyoto, which provides a summary of the Fu Tian Hu Ro Ju Yao. In this painting, we find 9 grahas, 12 zodiacal signs, and 28 nakshatras. The phonetic translation of Sogdian names of planets, here, this is the sun, and the me is here, and this is the Mah or moon, like this. So those Sogdian names are written, Sogdian names that are shown in table 2 above. Now I speak about Yu Xizhen. In the middle of the 9th century, a Buddhist monk, Soei, of Toji Temple, brought back from China some text on astrology Among them was the UC I have suggested that the full text title of this text was Du Li Yu Si Jin, as attested in Chinese document, and that Du Li Yu Si stands for the name of the Greek astronomer Ptolemaios, who was an author of a book on astrology, Petra Biblos. There are many Arabic texts ascribed to pseudo-Ptolemy, and the Du Li Yu Si Jin might have been a translation from one of such kind of texts. Also, although the text of Du Li Yu Si Jin is lost in China, we have its fragments as quoted by Japanese Buddhist astrologer during Heian period. It is highly possible that a kind of epitome of Greek astrology was transmitted to China and ultimately to Japan with Ptolemy's name attached to it. But recently, Bill Mack has shown that this name can be a Dorotheus name, not Ptolemy's, but Dorotheus. But the problem is not settled yet. Now I go to Jiajan Sai. Another Chinese text brought to Japan by Soye is the Chiao Ransai Che, QRJ abbreviation, which was written by a Western Indian Brahmin named Kinkda. This character is not correct. I have shown the correct Chinese character here. Correct one is Kinkda. This around 800 AD. Also, the title of this text can be expressed in Sanskrit as Saptagraha Shanti Mantra, formula to appease the disasters caused by the seven luminaries. The number of planets are not 7, but 9, including Rahu and Ketu. The former being phonetically translated as Rako and Ruho and data as Didu. They are also called the head of the eclipse god and the tail of the eclipse god, respectively. But strangely, the latter was actually not the descending node, but the lunar apogee as described by Yano. This strange interpretation is also found in Japanese horoscope. This texture is a mixture of elements of Indian, Central Asian, and Chinese origin. As I have shown in my paper, the main body of this text is planetary ephemerides, including that of Rahu and Ketu. The 12 places Vahabats were first defined in this text. As Ito found, the Chinese names are closer to those found in the Pahlavi text Bundahishan. The coordinate system is the Chinese 28 lunar mansion system, and the planetary positions were computed by the Chinese calendar UCD. This is a typical example of the role played by Central Asian texts. Now, about the Futian. Another text which was related with QRJ and which followed a similar course was the Futian or the center. This is again of central origin. This text, which was once important and used by the Yuan dynasty China, was lost in China, but it was used in by Japanese Buddhist astrologers in order to compute the planetary positions. As Nakayama has proved, The text contains the solar equation table, which was based on the parabolic function. This text gave some influence in the astronomical table gauge of the Central Asian origin. Unfortunately, however, what was discovered in Japan was only a fragment which does not permit any further study. Now, I'll speak about the last topic. Hui and Min Shu. In the beginning of the Ming Dynasty, the two texts of Arabic Islamic origin were translated into Chinese. One is the Hui, a handbook of mathematical astronomy based on Ptolemy's system. The other is a Ming Tian Shu, MYTWS abbreviation. This is a Chinese translation of Crucialism that bans introduction to astrology. This is my PhD dissertation. The two translations were made in the same year, 1383 AD, by the same group of translators from Central Asia again. It is very interesting that Chinese translations of some of the technical terms are borrowed from Buddhist texts. The names of the zodiacal signs of Shuya Jin and Minwei Tenmen Shu are compared in table. No, in my text I have compared it, not in my this PowerPoint file. Between these two texts, I have added two others. One is a list of Chue Jansete, QRJ, which is found in the figure attached after ephemerides. So this is from the manuscript of Shimamura Bunko, and the figure is attached. And it is very difficult to read, but anyway, I put in the column Chue Jansen Che. Some characters are very difficult to decipher. Another is that of Zidun Jin. ZRJ is a very strange text which was translated into Chinese by Pat Xian during the Song Dynasty. The text is ascribed to a god Tian Deva, Tian, called Nandi Keshibara. The correct word is here. Nandi Keshibara. Nandi Keshibara. The name of this person is very difficult to translate, but probably this is in my interpretation. This is in Sanskrit Nandikeshvara, who is known as one of Shiva's attendants, and according to Sanskrit dictionary of Muriel Williams, there are several works bearing his name. The text is contained in the Taisho Tripitaka, but it has nothing to do with Buddhism. The main body of the text deals with astrology of Indian origin, especially the relation between the 12 zodiacal signs and the 27 nakshatras is interesting, although the author did not understand their meaning. Also, there occurred some important changes. Virgo is expressed as two ladies. Yeah. Virgo as two ladies. Sagittarius is depicted as a man and a horse. Man and a horse. Yeah. man and Sagittarius, man and horse. These changes are kept in the images of the Mogao cave. This is from Mogao cave. Number 61 in Dunfan. In Indian text, Virgo is a lady with a cone and a torch in her hand. Sagittarius is a Dambin, archer, or dance bow. Both are attested in Sanskrit text. But in this case, man and horse were separated. Man and horse are separated. Those are the image of Sagittarius. So the image of Sagittarius of Western origin was not transmitted, but only the word was transmitted. And so man and horse was here. But these interpretations are also in Japanese arazu. In this also, this interpretation is found. In Mingwei Tenmenshu, the 4 kinds of astrological aspects are translated as trine, Sanhei, and quartiles, or erection, and sextiles, Ruhei, opposition, John. These are important astrological technical terms. But these translations are not found in any Chinese translations of Buddhist text. This is very strange. Only in Buddhist text on astrology, these words are found, not in classical Chinese text. This, for instance, Sanhei, trine, or trine is found in fragmentary quotation in the Buddhist horoscope that is found in Japan. The quotation is from so-called Dushi Yu Jin, which was, as I have mentioned above, referred to by Hisen in his Fantian Furo Juyao. So this is, I have finished my talk about 70 minutes.
You finish? Professor Shi, you're muted right now.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Professor Michio Yano, for this very rich and also very, I mean, especially and temporarily very wide span of talk. Give us a very general and a picture with, but with a very concrete examples of how, we are both the Silk Road on sea and on land, the astronomical knowledge and also the astrological knowledge spread from ancient Greek to the India, West Asia, and also Central Asia, China, and then finally Japan. So this is a very good example of how the Silk Road linked different civilizations and became a very important channel to for the transmission of knowledge and also ideas. So I think these are very interesting examples, but for ordinary scholars, it's very difficult because this work, has to be based on a kind of not just the trans-civilization or transcultural techniques, but also linguistic or trans-language, technique. So that's why very few scholars nowadays can, conduct this kind of studies. So I think you have this kind of advantages in language. So that's why you can see a lot of things that ordinary scholars like us, only know, have very few talent in language can see. So I think this is a fascinating topic and field, and we need to continue to pursue the studies. Maybe in future, I think our the association will try to attract more scholars, to concentrate on this topic. Okay, now I see we have several scholars here. So to have comments, yeah, please, yeah, okay, Professor Chen.
Probably easy. You can just very simple give a summary for his talk in Chinese, and then maybe because this is much different from our exercise. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I first I would summarize it in Chinese. Okay, 刚才这个石野先生呢，他介绍了这个，他其实给我们构建了一个很大，就是讲了一个很大的故事，就是在古代如何，他是从那本这个关于红海就红海航行的这本书开始，对吧？他讲了古代沟通这个可能这个希腊通过这个红海从这个西亚到这个印度的这些航路，这个里面当然也谈到了这个中国，而通过这个其实是我的一个问题啊，就是说，他是不是认为早期的从比如说古希腊到印度的这种知识的传播，就是主要的是通过海上的这种方式来做的呢，对吧？这是他的第一个举了这样的一个例子，就是主要是印度的古希腊的那些天文学的知识、星战的知识，它最后传到了早期的，甚至于在这个应该是一些托勒密之前的，就是在公元1、2世纪之前的那些古希腊的那些天文知识、星战知识的话，就通过这样一个途径传到了印度，也就是东方，对吧？这个是一个。后来讲到这个陆上的这个思路以后呢，他也是举了一些例子，就是主要的是进一步的印度的这些知识，这些天文学的和星战的还有历法的这些知识是如何的通过这个陆上的丝绸之路，比如说它可以经由这个中亚再传到中国。其实这个中间它也是又融合了后来的一些东西，包括晚期中世纪的时候，可能从中世纪早期这个在阿拉伯天文学里面，就是托勒密后期的星战学和天文学，对吧？在阿拉伯的这个发展之后呢，在经过中亚这些地方，又和原来印度的东西融合起来传到中国。最后呢，他一直谈到了，一直到明初，到元朝和明初，这个伊斯兰天文学，是吧？又进来，又通过陆上丝绸之路传入到中国，是吧？这个主要是蒙古时期，这个他没有那个，但是呢，最后翻译成中文的是在明初，就是《回回历法》和《明义天文书》，这两本书。《回回历法》呢是一个天文表，是吧？它可以，是被这个明朝正式采纳的，和我们中国的大统历这个参照使用。那个《明义天文书》呢，实际上就是一个关于这个，也是一个关于这个托勒密的那个在四门经里面提出的这个就是命宫战吧这样的一种战法，是一个完整的一个翻译本，而且它是基于这个阿拉伯的一个学者，那个是他博士论文。而且他在这个里面他发现一个很有趣的现象，就是说，即便是后来的，虽然说它源头可能不一样，比如说这个《明义天文书》里面的关于这个12宫的这个翻译，它居然参照的是佛教早期的，反正是一个版本吧，就是是叫什么经，我也忘了，就是反正是一个，而且这个呢最后又体现在这个日本的这些佛教的这些星战的这些文献里面。这个呢就是它的一个整个报告的一个总体的一个内容吧。细节上它有很多的 比如说同样的一些词汇，对吧？比如说就是关于星期的这个每一天的这个日名，对吧？那么原来不同的语言里面它是怎么叫的，然后体现在我们中文的翻译里面，还有包括12宫也是这样的，是吧？就是这个在不同的，比如说在粟特语里面，或者在波斯语里面，或者在阿拉伯语里面，它的这个叫法是不一样的。那么我们中文的这些翻译，你通过这个它的音译，你就可以追溯到它大概是从哪个地方过来的。当然还有翻译的方法，就是我刚才讲的，它可以看出来这个民意天文书里面的这个12宫，它其实是从这个是从那个后期的一个这个我一下忘了，就这个我现在这个对，也是束
要经，
束要经对，不是比束要经晚，那个里面的那个
冉则诀。
也不是，这是早期的，它是后期的。
杜里玉西经
啊，
杜里玉西经，
杜里玉西经啊，从这些里面翻译过来的，对吧？这些都是他结合他的特长，因为他是精通这个梵语，很年轻的时候他就懂梵语，然后这个阿拉伯语啊，这个都很好，所以他可以，而且他不是说那个他可以去读那个很难的那个文本，就是那个手写本啊，这个是非常难的。那么，所以他能够给我们一些很不一样的一些这个结论，这个是他非常独特的一个地方。啊，我简单的做这样一个介绍。OK， 那各位有没有什么问题？OK， Professor Chen or yeah, maybe because he mentioned Biomark for many times, and he also cited here. So maybe Bill could have something to say. Yeah.
Sure. It's a privilege to see Professor Yano again. I had the privilege to actually spend over 10 years in Japan, and we actually read many Sanskrit and Chinese astronomical and astrological texts together weekly, every week, a few hours, just reading Sanskrit or Chinese. That was the greatest pleasure in my life, my greatest 10 years. And a lot of the things that Professor Yano mentioned in his talk were discussed many, many times in our reading. And I want to highlight some of the greatest contributions of Professor Yano because he didn't really highlight them in terms of the impact to the scientific community. One of the things is his discovery of the structure of the Xiu Yao Jing. So the Xiu Yao Jing is one text with 2 parts, and a lot of people think that it's just a text with 2 parts, but actually is the same text and a retranslation. So those are actually a very important insight. So the first translation was an Indian translation, more Indian-like translation, and it's in the second fascicle. And then the first fascicle is the more Chinese-like fascicle, including a chapter that is lost in China but preserved in Japan, namely Gautama Siddhartha's Chutan Siddha's Jiu Zhi Li, the calculation of weekday. So that insight is extremely important because that is not evident in the Chinese material, but only through study of the Japanese manuscript and also analysis of the colophon. So another major contribution is his comparison of all these different texts, namely Sanskrit, Islamic texts in Arabic, and also Chinese. So today, I don't think we have any scholars who are conversant in all these 3 languages. I myself, I work only with Sanskrit and Chinese. I cannot read Arabic. I read other languages, but not Arabic. So that limited me my ability to Song Dynasty. So I cannot do anything beyond Song Dynasty. So I hope that in future, and actually is Professor Yano's encouragement that I should spend more time with the team in Zhongke Da because they have scholars working in all time periods. So that is something that I feel that Professor Yano is contributing to the scholarship in East Asia. And I want to highlight also his scholarship is very unique in the sense that it connects the different cultures together. From Greece to India, Central Asia, as Professor Shiyundi mentioned. But I would have one question to Professor Yano, if I may. That is, so far we hear only from the transmission from west to east, namely from Greco-Indian astroscience through Central Asia, whether or on the maritime road. So what do you think about the possibility of transmission from China to India, or even possibly to Greece, but due to lack of possibly evidence, but at least in according to Joseph Needham, he would claim that there are many technological inventions and possibly also some scientific concepts, but this is still hotly debated by many scholars. I would like to hear your opinion.
It's very difficult to answer this question. Just like water flowing from a higher place to the lower place. As far as the astrology is concerned, the Greek is higher and India is lower, and China might have been lower. So this is a natural flow, not the opposite way.
Okay.
But and Indian people did not know much about China. Only the word China is found in Sanskrit text. Only China. That is from Sin dynasty, Sin. And
yeah. So actually, I mean, it's like
actually,
water, you know, higher.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult for
We all hope find some evidence.
Evidence for this,
but it's difficult.
Yeah. Maybe I mean, in later period we can find some examples. For example, in the Middle Ages. We can find, the spread of Chinese medicine as well as Chinese, knowledge of Chinese calendrical astronomy in the places like Malaga. Those kind of international centers in that period of astronomy. But in earlier period, it's really difficult. But I would like to add to, Bill Mark's, Dr. Bill Mark's comments that is. Actually, a few years later, when I had the opportunity to, travel in Central Asia and also West Asia or Middle East, I have tried to locate if there are any, ancient Chinese books, can be found in these areas. But unfortunately, no, especially in Iran. I went to the National Library and also the library of the Mashhad, what is that? That is the beside that a great Shia mosque. There is a very big and very old observatory, but no, not observatory, library. But unfortunately, I didn't find any Chinese books in it. Not to mention, books in mathematics or astronomy or medicine. But that. Maybe, I mean, that's why we are so, it is very difficult to find the kind of the textual evidence for this kind of, the flow from the lower place to the central place, yeah, the higher place, yeah. I mean, the difficulty in finding related text or other material evidence.
Yes, as far as the technology is concerned, like paper making, gunpowder.
Yeah,
compass.
paper. We have a lot of papers.
Yes. But as far as it is, and if astrology is concerned, what I know is only astrology.
Yeah.
It is from India to China one way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Professor Xi.
Yeah.
My cell phone is in low battery. I may say something after you first.
Okay.
Yeah. In case I lost in contact, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Cell phone is in low battery. Yeah. I thank Professor Yano very much of his lecture. Yeah, Professor Yano is an outstanding scholar in our field. Today he gave us a wonderful lecture. His lecture has both macro perspectives and detailed historical materials, revealing the division and exchange of astronomy between the West and East worlds along the Silk Road, from Greece to India, then to China, and even further to Japan. The spread of astronomy has a clear path. This path coincide with the Silk Road on land and sea. This is actually not surprising, since it is normal for knowledge to spread around the path of trade. Astronomy has spread along the Silk Road, leaving behind a lot of documentary and archaeological evidence. Previous scholars has done a lot of related research on this issue. Of course, there are still many issues that require further research by later scholars. There are many young scholars among the audience in today's lecture. Maybe none of them can speak 3 languages as Professor Yano, but we can work together with everyone know one language like this. I hope some of them are interested in continuing this research. Maybe I can raise a question to Professor Yano about the painting of the painting called Karaju in the Doji Temple in Kyoto. Yeah, Professor Yano, do you have any information about the author of this Karaju? I mean, who painted it? I'm interested why the range of Kyoto's position was changed from Weixiu to Dixiu in the Fantianhuolu Jiuyou, and was changed to Weixiu to Shixiu in this Karaju. It is to say that the astronomical meaning of Kyoto in this Karaju was changed to be the descending node of the lunar orbit and the ecliptic. Yeah. I remember I mentioned this change to you in the 24th International Conference of History of Science and Technology and Medicine in Manchester in 2013. Yeah. I want to find answers from some information such as the author of the painting or what kind of astrological school to which he belongs, etc. Can you tell me something about this?
I don't know how Toji's card was prepared. Probably it is only a summary of Fontaine something Central Asian origin. It is a summary. So in this case, Rahu and Ketu are opposite head and tail of dragon. But in some other text, dragon's tail was not lunar apogee. So this is also very strange.